Welcome back. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, declassifying damning emails yesterday showing how former DNI James Clapper directed officials to rush through normal procedures to release a highly politicized intelligence report about the 2016 election. His team even raised concerns about there not being enough time to be, quote, absolutely confident that Russia plotted to change the outcome of the election. But Clapper went further. He even invoked the adage, well, that's our story and we're sticking to it. Gabbard writing this: the decision to compromise standards and violate protocols in the creation of the 2017 Manufactured Intelligence Assessment was deliberate and came from the very top. Joining me right now is Kentucky Congressman and House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. Mr. Chairman, great to have you. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria.
And of course, there was a behind closed doors testimony of Columbia University law professor Daniel Richman, who apparently was Jim Comey's media mole. And he was communicating with Michael Schmidt at the New York Times, according to John Solomon at Just the News. And he was trying to get Michael Schmidt at the New York Times to write favorable stories about Jim Comey and negative stories about President Trump. What can you tell us?
Well, look, this is what we thought was going on all along. This is the deep state coordinating and colluding with the liberal media to create false narratives that would hurt President Trump and other Republicans. This has been going on for a long time, and thanks to Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe and Kash Patel, we're finally seeing the evidence to prove that, and hopefully we're turning a corner with respect to our intelligence community, and these new faces led by President Trump can restore credibility to our intelligence community.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, are we ever going to see accountability, Congressman? I mean, we've been talking about the Russia collusion lie for years. Here it is, John Ratcliffe with me back in 2019, basically putting his finger on the story, knowing that John Brennan and James Clapper were behind pushing this ridiculous nonsense. Watch this, 2019, watch this.
The Democrats have made the mistake of staking the credibility of all this on Adam Schiff. The person that they put in charge of this investigation turns out is the one that helped start it by meeting with a person who walked out of Adam Schiff's office and became the whistleblower. And at the very same time that that's happening, as you mentioned, now there's an Inspector General report that comes out that says during the last impeachment hoax, the Trump-Russia one, Adam Schiff repeatedly made false statements to the American people about the FBI's actions.
You know, Adam Schiff was certainly out and about a lot throughout the last 3 years saying that there is collusion in plain sight. And now we get the IG report and we actually see the misconduct and what they call errors, fraud, whatever you want to call it. What is your reaction to what you learned from Michael Horowitz?
It wasn't just that Adam Schiff was out and about. He put out a report that said there was no FISA abuse by the FBI. That was false. He said that the FBI didn't fail to turn over exculpatory information. That was false. He said that the Steele dossier was not a central part of the FISA applications against Carter Page. That was false.
So Adam Schiff was your colleague in the House. I mean, he was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee at one point. Now he's a senator. There's been no accountability. Why should we expect any accountability anywhere?
Well, this is the opportunity that conservatives have been waiting for a long time. Now we have people like John Ratcliffe, who, along with Devin Nunes, have been saying this was what was taking place for a long time. Now, with access to the National Archives, we have the evidence in the form of emails to prove this is what's happening. It's up to Pam Bondi now to take this evidence and hold people accountable. And if for whatever reason, people like Adam Schiff and Clapper and Comey and Christopher Wray, if they get by with what they've done and are never held accountable, I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment among conservatives, because we've sat back and we've watched this happen over the last 5 to 8 years, and nothing's happened. Now the evidence is clear. It's time to hold people accountable. It's my understanding, Maria, that there are grand jury deliberations taking place. It's my understanding that the Department of Justice is serious about taking this evidence that's emerged and holding these people accountable, and I certainly hope that's what happens.
Well, what do you know about the statute of limitations? Because John Ratcliffe, the CIA director now, joined me just last week and told me that when you're talking about conspiracy, it does not, a 5-year statute of limitations does not apply. And, you know, it begins, the timing begins on the last time you, quote unquote, conspired. And if they're still lying about it today, I mean, we had another bombshell disclosure by FBI Director Kash Patel just this week, new whistleblower testimony, accusing Congressman Adam Schiff, then Congressman, now Senator, of approving a 2017 plan to leak classified information in an effort to damage President Trump's first term. Is that not a felony? The documents are from a former Democrat staffer on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Schiff's office calls the allegations categorically false, Congressman. And President Trump is now calling on Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate Adam Schiff and Hillary Clinton. Watch this.
I actually told them, I said, you know, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it.
It's a good point that he makes. He was not even able to deal with Russia the way he needed to deal with Russia because he was always on defense. I didn't collude. He had to make sure he watched his P's and Q's when talking about Vladimir Putin.
That's exactly right. And now that the truth has come to light, I'm glad President Trump pointed at Pam Bondi and said, I hope you do something about it, because the power lies within the Department of Justice now to hold these people accountable. And if they're allowed to get away with this, I'm going to be disappointed. My colleagues on the House Oversight Committee are going to be disappointed. And everybody in America that's watched Fox News and other conservative networks over the past 4 years are going to be disappointed. So I'm optimistic. When you talk about Adam Schiff, not only is this coming to light that he leaked classified data, that he colluded with the media to try to create a false narrative to hurt our President of the United States, to hurt our foreign policy, to influence the elections. But he's also involved in a mortgage scam. So I think that the walls are closing in on Adam Schiff, and I think the Department of Justice has ample evidence now to move forward and hold Adam Schiff accountable for the many crimes that he's committed.
Yeah, by the way, I would argue this is not just about conservatives. I mean, you said, conservatives are going to be disappointed. I mean, this story, this whole thing ripped the country apart. It put a duly elected president on defense, having to explain away whether or not he colluded or not. It hampered his ability to get people to work for him in his administration, hampered his ability to actually deal with Russia in the way that he needed to deal with Russia, because he was always afraid of what he was going to say, that it could be tied to collusion. So, I would say the whole country, if you're a truth-telling, honest citizen and all you really want is truth and you want to just get to the bottom of truth, then everybody should be disappointed, not just conservatives. But, Mr. Chairman, I got to ask you about what you're working on right now, because I know you've got more interviews coming up next week as your committee is investigating former President Biden's mental decline and the use of the auto pen. Biden's former special assistant, Ian Sams, is coming up next Thursday. You've got Andrew Bates, Karine Jean-Pierre, and Jeff Zients on deck for September. What do you want to hear from these folks? I mean, Fox News is reporting that you've got new emails from the Biden White House showing how they scrapped a 2023 visit to a Pennsylvania shipyard because of, quote, how many steps were involved to get on the ship, Mr. Chairman. You're leading this landmark investigation. What should we expect?
Well, we've got a lot of questions about a potential cover-up of Joe Biden's mental and physical decline. The new emails that have emerged show that they didn't want Joe Biden to go take one walk around a ship that obviously is used for our national security, because they didn't feel that he could actually make enough steps without tripping or falling down. That's more evidence that the staff around Joe Biden sheltered him and tried to hide the fact that he was in a massive mental and physical decline. You take that with what we're learning from all these depositions and transcribed interviews that we've already done, and there were a very small group of people that were around Joe Biden that shielded him from cabinet secretaries. They shielded him from the press. They shielded him from the American people. And yet these are the same few staffers that operated the auto pen that was used heavily in the last 90 days during the lame duck period of Joe Biden's presidency to try to Trump-proof the Trump administration. And many of the problems and challenges that Donald Trump is facing now in court, trying to do what he said he was going to do by eliminating unneeded federal bureaucracies and by bringing federal employees back to work. The executive orders that were signed by the auto pen during the lame duck presidency are what's being used to hurt him in court. So the whole basis of this investigation is to determine whether or not these executive orders and pardons can be declared null and void in a court of law, because we had a president of the United States that had no idea what that auto pen was being used for. And I think the evidence continues to emerge to show that this small group, this inner circle in Joe Biden's White House, did everything in their ability to conceal the fact that he was in mental and physical decline.
Well, I mean, you know, Anthony Fauci was pardoned. Why? Why was Anthony Fauci pardoned? If you don't think that Anthony Fauci did anything wrong, why are you pardoning him? He made all these decisions that destroyed people's lives during COVID. Is that pardon legitimate? Because that was done by the auto pen, not by Joe Biden, right?
Yeah, and look, Joe Biden gave that one interview since his presidency to the New York Times where they pressed him on the pardons, and he said, yeah, I didn't see every pardon. I delegated that to staff. Well, that already was that's not how the pardon process works. Right. And that already shows that the whole pardon process was toxic. And I think that you can make a strong case in court that these pardons and the executive orders could be declared null and void because the president had no idea what was going on. And he even admitted that to the New York Times.
It's a big statement. Big statement right there. Mr. Chairman, great to see you, sir. Thank you.